You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Matt Laswitz, and welcome to this week's episode of Bat Chat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-host Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
Oh, man, it's going. Let's start with movie chat, an abbreviated movie chat, because I still have not been out to the movies. I don't know what it's going to take me to get, or what it's going to take to get me back out to the movies. 28 days later looks to be fantastic. Or excuse me, 28 years later, Bone Temple looks to be fantastic. So I'll probably go see that. Primate looks like good monkey face eating time. But I want to say this. I just saw a commercial for this. So I'm not here to make a fair judgment on it. I'm just saying I saw the commercial. Not only did I just see the commercial, but I saw the commercial from an entire gym's distance away without sound. But is Mercy just rerunning Minority Report? Is that all it is?
It seems to be very, very similar to Minority Report, yes.
Because I saw Chris Pratt with like his most serious look on his face, looking through like all the precog recordings, and
he has been, it's not precog, it's surveillance state, full-on surveillance state, from what I gather. And he has been arrested for the murder of his wife, and he didn't do it, and he has 24 hours to prove it before I think they put him down like a dog.
So it's not quite Minority Report, but it's still like future tech surveillance state.
Oh, it's very, very similar.
Yeah. I mean, visually, it looked dead on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we really appreciated how good Minority Report was.
No, I don't think we did. I think that Minority Report is a fundamentally very good film. And I think that seeing knockoff Minority Report will remind us how good a movie Minority Report is.
I think there was a lot of Tom Cruise that we kind of slept on unfairly.
Yes. I think when Tom Cruise was at his couch jumping craziest, we as a culture treated him as sort of a novelty, forgetting that he's actually a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
I will say, unrelated to this, but related to movie news, I got a little alert yesterday. Luckiest Man in America is now streaming on Hulu.
Ooh. It's hard to say what I think about that movie. If you're into game show lore, I definitely recommend you check it out. The casting is at least interesting. I don't know if Goggins quite pulls off Peter Tamarkin, but it's fun to watch. You won't feel like your time was wasted. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. Maybe sometime this weekend, based around what other things I've got going on, what movies I'm going to go and see. And I've got stuff going on next weekend, so I need to do a lot of the viewing for the bonus episode this weekend. But yeah, I definitely will be watching that movie in the next week or two, now that it's somewhere streaming that I have access to.
I have been hand selling to a lot of my friends Begonia as that started to make its way to streaming. What a good fun time that was, and I'm glad to see it's getting some awards love. I think it deserves it.
Absolutely. I think we said last. I think this is One Battle After Another's year. But
yeah.
I think Sinners and Begonia will both pick up some awards. I think your picture and your director are almost assuredly going to One Battle After Another. I think Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone both have a chance. I think Michael B. Jordan has a real good chance. I think they might give Delroy Lindo supporting. That might be kind of a career award. But I think that we're going to see One Battle After Another just take a lot of awards.
And it was good, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It absolutely deserves the awards it gets. I mean, I think then there's Benicio and Penn, who'd also both be up for supporting. But the way these things work, when you get 2 actors from the same movie up,
Split support.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody else can slip in that way.
I tell you though, if I was giving it away, it'd be pinned like all the way. Not that Robert Downey Jr. didn't deserve an Oscar for Oppenheimer, but to me, that role was so thin as compared to a character like Lockjaw and how Penn just inhabited that weird skin suit. Like he just brought that character to life. Whereas I think Downey just kind of like grimaced and scowled for most of his screen time.
You want to hear something I've heard recently that makes that Downey Award make a degree of sense, even if it doesn't make sense in the it probably might not have even been the best performance in that year.
Give it to me.
This is gonna sound weird. You know who Bruce Valanche is?
Yes.
Bruce Valanche is co-hosting a podcast called The Oscars. What were they thinking? Where they go through different Oscar years and look at the movies that won based on the test of time. So you go back and you look at a year and say, well, nobody watches the movie that won anymore, but two of the other movies that were nominated are classics. Bruce Valanche wrote for like 20 Oscar ceremonies. He was deeply involved in the Oscars.
That does not surprise me.
And he said something where he said that a lot of times when push comes to shove, the Oscars will award an actor, if there's kind of a toss-up, the voting body will vote for someone who they think is either currently or will in the future be able to get them jobs. Not
Ah.
literally, not like, well, I voted for you, so you vote for this person because it's like they're going to be someone big or they are someone big. And just,
Downey's getting into producing. He's richer than Jesus.
yes.
Yeah.
And we can't let him win for something playing Tony Stark. But this is something we can give him his laurels and make him happy to be in Hollywood again.
Mm.
So that might be somewhat where that is when some of the other supporting actor people aren't megastars and Downey is both able to generate jobs, he generates revenue, and they want to give the new Robert Downey Jr. an Oscar, and this is the opportunity to do it.
That's a good point. That does make sense of that. And again, not that it was a bad performance and it was
No.
a great film, but just to compare that to Penn's performance is, to me, it's just night and day.
Yeah. I mean, I think Penn's performance, I think Benicio del Toro's performance, the kid in Sinners, especially
Oh,
for someone who his first acting role.
Academy does like giving nominations and awards to people like that. Yeah.
I mean, I think that if we see a split where it's those four and then a fifth person from another movie, it's like that fifth person might win just because each of those sets are gonna split the difference.
I think often we forget that this is very much a political process, that this is not based exclusively on artistic merit. But hey, at least now the Academy has to watch the things I'm voting on.
the the nominating, the getting to be nominated is more based on merit than the winning. Because again, listening to this podcast, it's fascinating. The actors nominate actors. The directors branch nominates the directors. It's not like you as an actor can chime in on who is nominated for best director. Only the directors can choose the nominees, and then everyone votes for who the winner is. So it becomes much more political the further down the cattle chute you get. But even the nominating is political. It's why for so many years there were always fewer female directors than there were male directors, but the directors branch was really big on being an old boys network. Even when you had female directors, they were getting fewer nominations because all the directors were a bunch of old boys who knew each other. Now, as it's gotten a little more diverse. You can start seeing more diversity, but for years it was so much more of an old boys network. Listening to this podcast has been a real education on how the sausage gets made on these nominees.
We
And
love sausage.
Valanche is he's crotchety and sarcastic and occasionally says things I'm like, "Oh, can you really say that? Should you really be saying that?" And there's, definitely the attitude of, "Well, I'm an old gay man. At this point I can get away with saying whatever the hell I like."
He definitely strikes me as someone whose talent was writing for Middle America. So I'm not surprised that he did a bunch of Oscars. Final movie piece, and then we'll move on. Trivia question tonight. Leading biggest box office grossing film of 2025.
Superman?
Nope. Barely beat out Lilo and Stitch.
Superman did? Really?
Nope.
Oh, the number one barely beat out Lilo and
Yes.
Stitch.
Yes.
It wasn't Avatar, was it?
Nope.
It was too late. That's
Yeah.
going to make most of its money in 26. It wasn't a Marvel.
Nope.
What is it?
A Minecraft movie.
Okay. I can see that. Now that you said it, it's like, yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I remember how crazy the movie theater was. Shows you that the movie theaters are dead thing isn't accurate. It's just that we need to recalibrate what we're looking at, I guess.
Yeah, and there needs to be more product out there.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And varied product.
yeah, I swear, I've got I think it's a 12 screen right across from the gym. It feels like they only play 5 movies a week. And for the past couple of weeks, if it's not been Avatar, there's literally like nothing else playing.
Yeah, no, it has been a real dry spell at the theaters the past few weeks. I mean, this week I saw We Bury the Dead, which is a fast science zombies, like a 28 Days Later zombie type movie with Daisy Ridley and Brendan Thwaites, the guy who played Dick Grayson on Titans.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Did
it's
he get to
a
swear in the movie too?
oh yeah,
Good
yeah.
for him.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just kind of there. And I saw Christmas Vacation on the big screen.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Cheddar's full.
But yeah, no, this week's going to be Primate and No Other Choice.
No other choice. What's that?
It's the Korean movie that I've.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
We've talked about that.
Yep. And then Bone Temple and Dead Man's Wire
Ooh,
next week.
that sounds like fun.
Oh, look it up. It's a Skarsgård based on a true story.
Oh,
Gus Van Sant, Bill Skarsgård, Al Pacino, Coleman Domingo, Carrie Elwes.
okay.
February 8th, 1977. Tony Kritzis entered the office of Richard Hall, president of the Meridian Mortgage Company, and took him hostage with a sawed-off shotgun wired with a dead man's wire from the trigger to Tony's own neck.
Okay.
Got real good buzz on the festival circuit.
Huh. 1970s crime drama. Those are some magic words.
Yep, I think it is right up your alley.
My final note before we talk about the things that we're here to talk about. As I'm reading more at the gym, I continue to plow through Game of Thrones. There's so many thrones, so many games. I picked up a Max Allan Collins book. What was it? And it's actually a couple of stories. A Killing in Comics.
Oh yeah, I haven't read it, but I've heard about it.
I just started it. Seems like fun.
I should definitely give it a shot. I just at some point when I've got the time.
So I
Yeah.
can't read comics on the treadmill. That's not much fun, but I can read prose. So we're doing some prose.
Yeah, I can't imagine reading on the treadmill is easy.
Well, I'm not running. That would
Ah,
definitely not work. Just
that
power walking. Do 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 do, and making that whole noise the whole time. Do 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 do.
I'm sure everyone around you is thrilled by you making that noise the whole time.
Oh yeah, and of course farting. But it
Oh yeah.
happens. So This is episode 222 of this here little podcast that we do. Now, by my math, and I'm not really a numbers guy, if we have done 222 episodes, counting this episode, and we do 3 stories per episode, are we going to hit some number in this one?
We are indeed. We will be reaching the number of the beast.
Oh,
666. But
666, the number of the beast.
before we get to that,
Oh.
good news, everyone!
Oh.
For this particularly diabolical episode, we have a new Patreon backer.
Oh.
Let's welcome at the Damian Wayne tier, a Patreon whose username is The Final Wraith. Very appropriate for episode 666.
That's so mysterious.
Yes. So we have a new Patreon backer. We need to figure out what our next milestone is going to be, and we'll figure that out soon and put that out there.
The Final Wraith. How intimidating.
Yeah. We got to do a good one.
Well, that's great news.
It is. So, because tonight is episode that will end with story 666, we are back into the spooky side of Gotham for stories
So spooky.
featuring fear and horror. Our first story of the night is The Riddle of the Human Scarecrow. This is World's Finest Comics number 3. The writer is Bill Finger, with pencils by Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson, inks by George Roussos, and no colorist, letterer, or editor is credited. The cover date is September of 1941. The first appearance and origin of one of Batman's greatest villains, the Scarecrow, as Professor Jonathan Crane attempts to use fear to make money in a protection racket. 1941, Scarecrow, he's been around for quite a number of years.
I loved the story. I thought this version of the Scarecrow probably makes more sense than almost any other version. Doesn't rely on fear gas. This is a guy who's just like, well, I'm a burned out academic. I'm just gonna scare people for money.
With a gun.
Yeah, very simple. Very simple.
It's interesting to have seen, because I went back and I double checked. There is some of the protection racket stuff in that Mensch annual, but it felt so weird in that because it comes out of nowhere in the third act. And having never read this story before, when I read it, it's like, okay, that's why Mensch did the protection racket stuff, because it's from the original story. But we don't have all of the, not Oedipal, but the psychobabble, the oh, woe is me, everyone bullies me, I hate everyone from high school.
Although I will say, some of his schemes are kind of self-limiting. When he goes to the guy involved in a lawsuit, says, all right, I'm going to go get the other guy to drop the suit against you. He's not going to pay you any more money than he was going to stand to lose in the lawsuit.
True, but we don't know how big the lawsuit was.
That's very true. But I'm just saying, as you're considering schemes, you want blackmail, right? Because that's ongoing. That's indefinite. If somebody's suing you for $1 million, you're not going to go bully that guy and again get more than $1 million.
The department store guy, it's like, all right, this guy's going to lose his entire business. You shut down his competition. You could ask for a good amount of money out of that guy.
Yeah.
So here, Scarecrow is not so much fascinated by fear. There isn't the same experimental nature. It's more just fear is the defining trait of humanity. So I will use it to make money to buy more books. And again, that's another element we've seen only in some modern Scarecrow stories. The bibliophile thing that is there in this earliest story.
Man does like his books.
But he's not very good at any of this yet.
No, he's very easy to catch.
Showing off the big wad of cash to the dean when he's being, or the president of the university when he's being fired. Where did the fat stacks come from, Crane? You probably shouldn't be shaking those in this guy's face.
Well, look, I know that whenever I've had any dispute on campus, I pull out money and shake it at my superiors because that always ends well.
Oh, I'm sure. And the panel of him shooting the gun in class, which is universal across pretty much every Scarecrow origin, is right here. But again, you can see the difference between the 40s and even like the 60s. That doesn't get him fired. No, him being a weirdo is just what gets him fired.
I had a criminal law professor. They made him stop doing this when I was taking his class, but apparently he would bring an inactive grenade into class for some similar type demonstration.
That's terrifying.
Old smoking Joe Colquitt, may he rest in peace. I presume that he's dead.
Scarecrow does throw a smoke grenade at one point, which, like, okay, there's some gas in there. I also thought that he doesn't do what is it, Mensch called it, his fearsome dancing, but he does do what they keep calling grasshopper leaps. And him boasting that I'm as good a fighter as you, Batman. It's like, no, you're not, Crane. But he does keep getting away, and is only really caught because he can't resist stealing rare books from the department store's rare book department.
As department stores have.
That was one of those things where, like, boy, that's convenient for the plot of the story. That this happens to be the department store that has the rare books department.
Ah, women's, men's, sporting goods, furniture, rare books.
This was also had some really good art for the Golden Age, for these early stories. I really think this is probably far more Jerry Robinson than it is Bob Kane.
Yeah. We don't have the sort of over narrated plotting kind of story either. This really zips along. And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was surprised at how easy a read this was compared to so much of the other early Golden Age. Like I said, this is 41. This isn't the late 40s where we've seen some of that lighter, wackier Golden Age stuff. This is still pretty early, yet it moved at a really good clip. And this is a World's Finest, but this was before World's Finest was a team up book. It was just that you'd have both Batman and Superman stories in it. They didn't start teaming up until later in the series.
And we are so far away from books crossing over. That's such a natural idea now, but to think of like all of these books were running independently.
Yeah, it was a big deal. The idea when the Justice Society came about and it was all these characters teaming up, that was like this huge galaxy brain sort of moment. And now we just look at crossovers and team ups and it's like, yeah, it's Wednesday. Of course that's happening. I do like that Scarecrow's final downfall is getting hit in the back of the head by a swing.
Oh, that final fight scene was hilarious. I loved it.
Don't fight in a playground. You're gonna put your eye out.
It's going to be embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yep. The scene that I thought was great was when they're fighting in the department store and Scarecrow has gotten the upper hand on Batman and Robin is taking him out with sporting goods, tripping him with a bowling ball, shooting the grenade with a bow and arrow.
And then that was one part I got a little confused, but it's because it seems slightly before that Robin was fighting the police.
Yes. Like, I guess it was the smoke. They didn't know who it was. There was just somebody there, and so Robin has to fight off the cops. That seemed a weird moment, especially because then the cops see it's Batman and Robin. Like, oh, well, stand down, man. It's Batman and Robin. I want to give it credit for Despite the last name obviously being an Ichabod Crane reference, nowhere do we get, like my namesake, Ichabod Crane.
Uh-huh, you see? You see?
He's a tall, gangly teacher, and his last name's Crane. Okay, if you're smart enough to get the reference, great. If you don't get the reference, it doesn't matter, and we don't need to beat you over the head with it.
And he doesn't do any weird dancing.
No, none of his fearsome dancing.
Ugh.
I think we've seen this with some of the other Batman villains, but this is another one like Joker and Two-Face, where so much of the DNA of the character is already right here and evident.
Yeah,
We,
I'd say the only core component you're missing is the fear gas.
yeah, but aside from that, everything we know about the Scarecrow is right there.
Yep.
It shows you that when you come up with a good concept, sometimes it works. Although he is a character who does not have a ton of golden age appearances.
That kind of makes sense for the same reason that Two-Face is not around a lot.
Yeah, the code. He appears in this story in 1941, and he only made two appearances in the 40s, this one and one other. He doesn't pop up again until 67.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after that, it's somewhat sporadic, but that's wild, isn't it? In a post-code world, and he's such a natural Batman villain. The fear thing, just it makes so much sense as a counterpoint to Batman. I think I've said and we've said that every Batman villain is, some part of Batman cracked, and Batman inspires and uses fear. So that is the part of him that is the broken mirror with Crane. Do you have anything else?
No. Aside from, like I said, I really enjoyed this. This was a delightful story.
Then I think we're ready.
Could have killed a few more academics, but that's all right. Oh, that means it's time to put the riddle of the human scarecrow, world's finest comics #3 on the big board.
So we are at 663 stories on the big board right now.
Oh, it's very scary.
Number one is Post Crisis Origin of Batman, Batman Year One.
Still at a sexy 69 is Batman 14 to 15 Rooftops.
At 150 is Dark Knight Dark City, the first appearance of Barbatos. At 300 is Batman 66 meets Steed and Peel.
Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy, Matthew. Oh, my heart is full. I think this maybe tonight should just be the last night. It's like coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was at a blessed 420. It's Batman #66, Joker's Comedy of Errors, or as we like to call it on this here show, Joker's Boner.
At 450 is Snitch, the Legends of the Dark Knight issue guest starring Ragman. And all the way at the bottom at 663 is Three Jokers.
Boo. All right, so everything tonight is going below 420. So just putting that out there. That's it's never gonna line up that way again. Never.
No, but it was a beautiful thing like that had happened.
God damn it, was it ever?
All right. So let me give you a starting place.
Okay.
The Crimes of Two-Face, the first appearance of Two-Face, is at 273.
Two-Face is inner circle, like Batman villain, right? Scarecrow, he's just outside.
Yeah. The top five, the big five, are your four 66 classics: Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman, and Two-Face rounds out the top five. Scarecrow is probably 7, with Ra's 6.
6, yeah.
He's a lock-in top 10 villain.
Yeah.
But he doesn't crack the same echelon as Two-Face. And so much of that has to do with the personal nature of what Two-Face is to the mythos.
Yep.
So I said 366 meets Steed and Peel. I could put this above that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first appearance of Scarecrow, and it's a solid story, and it's not a Scarecrow that we would not recognize.
Yeah.
Clash of Symbols at 290.
I could see this going above that for historical merit.
So then we do have Crimes of Two-Face at 273. So I think in essence we are between 273 and 290.
Yes. I was the love slave of a plant-based killer, the Joe Potato Annual at 280. That was more fun. This is more important.
Exactly. I think by that same token it would go above Batman Grendel at 279.
What about right there? 'Cause above that is Cosmic Odyssey, which is that Jim Starlin, Mike Mignola, big epic with Darkseid, and Batman gets to deck Orion in the end, and we get some really fun Batman stuff in there.
New 279?
New 279.
Like it. Pretty good showing.
Yes, for Golden Age, absolutely.
This is a good art night.
Very good art night. Our second story of the night is Sanctum. This is Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, number 54. The writers are Dan Raspler and Mike Mignola, with art by Mignola, colors by Mark Chiarello, letters by Willie Schubert, and edited by Archie Goodwin and Bill Kaplan. The cover date is November of 1993. The pursuit of an occult killer into a graveyard leads Batman into a dark limbo, where he must fight for his survival against a dark spirit from Gotham's past and the elder gods he worships. Little bit of Matt's context corner on this. This was released slightly less than a year before the first issue of Hellboy.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, so we are seeing Mignola really dipping his toe into writing or co-writing at this point. We are just pre-Hellboy.
I think this is a really good example of what a standalone single story can be in an anthology series like Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yes. We've seen some others of these standalones. I just mentioned Snitch, the Robert Lauren Fleming written, I can't remember who did the art, David G. Klein, one with Ragman, or Terminus, Jamie Delano and Chris Bachalo, the Hotel of Lost Souls in Gotham story. Legends like to do these little one-off bite-sized Batman horror stories. Or Archie Goodwin liked to commission them anyway. We're still not at Mignola at the height of his powers, but it's close. There are some really great Mignola visuals in this issue.
Yes. And just the mood and the tone and just the is any of this real?
I love the panels. We see this gradual shifting that Batman falls through the roof of this mausoleum onto the coffin within. And you see the panel, a half page that's just him on the coffin. Then a few pages go on of him in limbo, for want of a better term. And you cut back to the real world, and he's still there, but now you're seeing the skeleton that's in the mausoleum in the coffin more visible in the coffin. And then a few more pages, and then the skeleton has its arms around him and it's biting him. That progress, it's really cool. And there's a splash page towards the end of the issue when Batman is facing down Drood, the villain of the piece, this undead necromancer, or dead, I guess, necromancer. And you get Batman looming over him and the vision of one of the elder gods, just this pencil against this red background. And it looks so fucking cool. And you can absolutely see a bunch of the stuff that Mignola is going to be doing in Hellboy here. The Elder Gods, the Old Sorcerer, the fact that this guy is part of what here he calls was it the Brotherhood of the Eye? The Order of the All-Seeing Eye, which just sounds like the Heliopolic Brotherhood of Ra from Hellboy. You could swap Hellboy out for Batman in this story.
Yeah, it works.
It wouldn't be exactly the same. There'd be a little bit of a difference, but this is really dropping Batman into a Hellboy story and seeing how Batman reacts to that.
Kind of a nice segue into next week.
A little bit. I didn't occur to me how well it lined up, but it absolutely does.
Stay tuned if you want to know more about that.
But man, Mignola he draws the hell out of this story. This also has a lot of the kind of things I expect from Mignola, like the weird little references like Drood, the last name of this guy, and the Mystery of Edwin Drood, the Dickens book. So naming the character after that. That Drood's house is on Bradbury Place. Little literary references that I could see in other Mignola. Dan Raspler, I was confused to see him as a co-writer because Raspler's an editor. Raspler has very few writer credits. I'm used to seeing him as a DC editor, but he has maybe 20 writing credits to his name. But he's like edited Kingdom Come and the John Ostrander Spectre and a ton of DC stuff in the 80s and 90s. But he's not particularly known to be a writer. And so I was kind of like, okay. I mean, he did a fine enough job on it. I'm not saying this is a poor showing. I was just a little surprised to see him as a writer.
You never know, since it wasn't specific, how the division of labor went. Maybe as someone not super versed in writing a comic, maybe you're like, oh, well, I have some story ideas, but you can fully lay it out and that sort of thing.
Oh, I mean, even the first Hellboy arc is Mignola plot with a John Byrne script. So I'm pretty sure that we got a Mignola plot here because it's, as I said, it's so obviously a Hellboy story. But I'm pretty sure Raspler did much of, if not all, the scripting and tidied up, which it makes a certain degree of sense to get an editor who can write a little to work with an artist who is working towards becoming a writer artist, but is smart enough to know he's not there yet.
Oh my God. If only all of them knew.
I mean, Mignola worked with co-writers for a lot of the Hellboy universe stuff. Hellboy Prime, the main Hellboy, was always Mignola writing and sometimes working with other artists. But all of the BPRD stuff was always Mignola working with Christopher Golden or John Arcudi or one of these other writers. So I think it's a smart way to go when you know your strengths. But Mignola can still write. I mean, he did create one of my favorite lines of all time. Hellboy, it's a memed panel, but it was one that jumped out at me when I first saw it. Hellboy going, "Don't mess with me, lady. I've been drinking with skeletons." You have to have some strong quality as a writer to have come up with that gem of a line.
I've been drinking with skeletons.
We haven't really talked much about the plot here. I won't say I have quibbles with the plot, but we definitely have lots of questions about how close this comes to breaking the one rule. I think outside of the somewhat questionable canonicity of Legends of the Dark Knight, if this had been in Batman or Detective, I would have probably been a little harsher on it. But we are in Legends where we exist in a sort of in between space. So Batman, in self defense, hitting someone who then impales himself upon the wrought iron points of a fence. Batman did not consciously kill the guy, but I would have, in full continuity, wanted Batman to be a bit more upset about even accidentally taking a life.
Yeah, he does seem a bit non-concerned.
And I understand that he needs to have taken that life for the story to work because it's the blood of a killer that would reawaken Drood. And I love watching Drood slowly become more fleshy from the skeleton that he is at the beginning to like full, while Batman is becoming more of a skeleton in a Batman costume. Let's be fair, so much of this plot feels like, how can I draw all these cool ideas I have in my head? And
And
there are
have it not be just pinups.
some artists where I'd be like, come on, guy, let's get a real story out of this. But you're Mike Mignola. If you want to write a story that lets you show off, brother, show off. And I liked the end. I liked that little bit where Batman thinks about going to Drood's house to see if the centuries gone corpse of his wife is indeed in the crawl space. And his final line about, if some things are best left unsolved.
Sometimes dead is better.
Yes. And I would place this fairly early in Batman's time as Batman. Legends of the Dark Knights tend to be, but I would say this is, before he's hanging out with Deadman and Zatanna on the regular.
Yeah.
I think this is an early encounter with the supernatural, and he's kind of not wanting to deal with this and just let the sleeping dogs of this particular experience, this undigested bit of beef, rest.
Look, what if I was just high on mushrooms?
I hit my head, blood loss from that fall. That's all it was. No such thing as elder gods and necromancers. Yeah, no, can't be, can't
You know
be.
what? There's probably some Joker venom or some Scarecrow gas or some Riddler gas or some Penguin gas probably floating around in there. Yeah.
Poison ivy pheromones.
Yeah.
There's all of that mixed together, and that was a bad trip, man. That was a
Oh,
bad trip.
not going to that graveyard ever again.
But yeah, I enjoyed this.
Just a great standalone story. I'm happy that there are so many more Legends of the Dark Knight that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, and so many 1 and 2 part stories. I'm glad that they did some of those big 5-parters, but I think so much of Legends of the Dark Knight was at its best when it was between 1 and 3 parts. But I think we're good to go here.
Oh, that means it's time. But Legends of the Dark Knight, number 54, Sanctum on the big board.
All right, so I'm going to start out with a number here.
Okay.
Terminus at 185.
Ooh.
So that is Jamie Delano, Chris Bocciolo, that series of vignettes of lost souls in the hotel in Gotham that seems to be feeding on the despair of the people in there.
Maybe more of a story, but this is still probably a better overall package.
And there was at least one of those, because most of like the first ones were like killers and like a couple of killers and like bad people, and the last one was the woman who was just running from her abusive ex, and it seemed weird that she was being grouped with all these killers. It felt odd. So I could see this going above, but not by much, because we've got a bunch of one-offs right in that general area. Like you go a few above that, you got You Should Have Seen Him, the one with the four cops telling their Batman stories, Fear for Sale, Doomsday Book, Player on the Other Side. There's a lot of really good one-offs in that area.
Talk to me about Images at 169.
That is the Denny O'Neil retelling of the first Joker story.
Mm. Don't know if we can beat that.
Tree of Knowledge at 171. That's Barbara and Dick in a criminology class with the professor who turns out to be crooked, who stole something during a field trip.
I could probably go above that.
And then we have First Fools, which is the Impulse 50, which is Batman and Impulse having to work together to stop the Joker, and Batman being utterly put upon, and then the Joker losing it because he can't deal with Impulse being Impulse.
New 170?
Right below Images, above First Fools? Yeah,
Yeah.
I can go for that. And our final story of the night, and story 666,
Whoa.
is Gotham After Midnight. This is Batman Gotham After Midnight, numbers 1 to 12. The writer is Steve Niles, with art by Kelley Jones, colors by Michelle Madsen, letters by Pat Brousseau, and edited by Michael Seglain and Harvey Richards. The cover dates are July of 2008 to June of 2009. Midnight has fallen on Gotham. A new enemy has come to the city, stealing the hearts of his victims, literally, and manipulating other Gotham criminals. Batman can't figure out what Midnight's motives are, and he isn't helped by a new and beautiful police detective who has attracted Bruce Wayne's eye. There's a lot to like in this story,
Oh, there's so much.
but very little of it is original. This is, let's take Long Halloween. Actually, let's
Yep.
take Hush, Long Halloween, throw in some Mask of the Phantasm, and we get Gotham After Midnight.
Yep.
And that doesn't make for a bad comic. It makes for a good comic. It just, there's no great revelation here about Batman as a character because we've seen all of these beats done in other stories.
Kelley Jones, as always, understands the assignment.
Oh,
No notes. It's bizarre. It's weird. It's fucked up. It's entirely what I want from Kelley Jones.
yeah.
But I expected more from Steve Niles. I really did. Like this does not. I think you summed it up perfectly. It's a kit bash of other Batman stories, and it's not a real good horror story. It's not a real good Steve Niles Winnebago graveyard type, spook or gore fest. Like narratively, it's weak sauce. The mystery here, and spoiler, the mystery here is supposed to be who this Midnight is. And not only, as you are oft to point out, not only are we, not given any prime suspects, when the one suspect we do have eventually gets to a point where, oh, Midnight is heading to April's house. My goodness. I hope April's okay. I'm like, well, yeah, it's fucking April. And we've talked so much about her family, and we've learned about her dad who's a cop, and her partner mysteriously turns up dead. Of course, it's fucking April.
Right. That's the Mask of the Phantasm. The love interest who turns out to be the killer all along. And the romance plot here is real thin. We didn't spend enough time with Bruce and or Batman with April to make me understand why he fell in love with her. Which is let's be fair, a pretty common problem with Batman love interests who aren't Vicky Vale, Selena Kyle, Vesper Fairchild, or
You're forgetting Golden Dawn.
or Julie Madison. There are so many characters you're introduced for an arc. In Silver St. Cloud. Silver St. Cloud, we see why he loves her too.
What's that story where it's some kidnapping victim and Batman just gets so fucking despondent that he can't save her?
Was that City of Crime? No, because that was a dead girl. City of Crime.
And it turns out like her,
Oh,
or it was her
that,
sister, but then it was
oh,
actually her mother, or
yeah, that was Darker Than Death.
that's bad. That's real
That's
bad.
that's like bottom 10.
Yeah.
That's real low. Oof. That was a real bad story.
This doesn't get to that level,
No.
but I wish narratively we'd had more to work with here because it is so surreal. It is so the vibes are great, but we don't really get into any horror. Just it's not anything interesting, and the ending is so flat. Oh God, it is so fucking flat.
The last issue is so much narration. My God. This flowed really well
It
up
did.
until the
It
last
did.
issue. I remember when I decided that this would be a good 666. I couldn't remember why, because I was like, I remember enjoying this, but I think that there was just, I couldn't remember what about it that had left a bad taste in my mouth. And I think it was that last issue. Because it's so much. Batman is just going to spend most of this issue just narrating at us.
And I think it's one thing for someone to, in essence, get away at the very end. But when she gets away and then Batman just talks about how he feels about that for an issue, that, oof, that's so soft.
I really think Steve Niles subconsciously he saw Mask of the Phantasm some years before and is rewriting some of those lines because they're not Alfred's speech to Bruce at the end isn't the exact same speech that Alfred gives to Bruce word for word, but it absolutely is like the kid who paraphrases something for a term paper. It's like it's not plagiarism because I'm not using the exact same words, but I'm just changing a few words so it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, but you also didn't cite your source, so it's
Mhm.
plagiarism.
But that speech is the exact same speech that Alfred gives to Bruce at the end of Mask of the Phantasm. It also mixes in the hush bit. I said Long Halloween, but it's more hush because it's the mastermind with the villains who's manipulating them and who winds up betraying them and them getting pissed at him and manipulating Catwoman. I mean, these are beats right out of Hush. There are some unanswered questions here, which are both like I guess we didn't need the explanation, but at the same time, how did our love interest slash cop slash supervillain Midnight wind up with, I guess, nanites that let her control these supervillains?
Well, when you're dating two billionaires, you probably have extra money on hand.
I mean, I guess that could be, but again, you could have easily dropped in a line about this being tech from the shitty billionaire.
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, thank you. That's his name.
Ah, me and Dunkirk, we've fought many times. We've sued each other so many times. I will say this story has maybe my favorite two-page spread in the history of two-page spreads. So Clayface becomes a kaiju. It's just brilliant fucking idea. Brilliant. And so he's tearing ass in Gotham, building sized Clayface. And little tiny on a rooftop is Joker with some popcorn, just watching, just having a good time. And I loved how that's not focused on, that's not highlighted. It's just a little tiny Joker eating his popcorn, watching Clayface tear ass as a kaiju. That was a legitimately funny panel, and it was cool.
And I loved that issue, the Clayface kaiju issue. was dedicated to legendary special effects artist Stan Winston, because that would have been something that Stan Winston would have loved. And then another one of these issues was dedicated to, I believe, the at that point recently deceased legend of science fiction fandom, Forrest J. Ackerman, who was the kind of guy who I'd figured Niles would have had some sort of, if not actual relationship with, would have looked up to, as Niles is so clearly a fanboy. But as with any of these sort of hush type stories, we get a lot of villains, and each of them have their own story, and none of it is particularly connected. But here at least we have the excuse of, well, Midnight was using the villains to distract me. So the fact that we have a new villain, Axeman, but Scarecrow and Man-Bat and Croc and Joker and Catwoman. And I love the fact that the mind control nanites didn't work because it's inserted into your blood, and Joker's blood is so fucked up that it just basically destroyed the nanites.
Yeah, it's toxic stew in there. We're not even sure how Joker's alive.
But there are a lot of really gorgeous two-page spreads throughout. And the use of the midnight and the countdown, the clanging midnight bells repeatedly through the issues are really good. And I love the design on Midnight.
Oh yeah. Again, visually there is a lot to work with here and look at, but especially in terms of a mystery. Ugh,
Yeah,
nothing here.
you get one red herring and one obvious suspect. Because nowhere did we actually think it was Dunkirk.
No.
He's obviously a red herring, and it's obviously Detective Clarkson. I also think that Kelley Jones had a lot of fun not having to keep the Batmobile on model and constantly drawing new versions of the Batmobile throughout. There's like 6 different Batmobile designs in here.
And they are all roughly like a rocket car.
Yeah, but they're all a little bit different. He just keeps redesigning it and tinkering it throughout just because he, I guess, kind of feels like it.
There is some sense that this is not so much Gotham as it is Pee-wee's Playhouse redesigned to kind of feel like Gotham. Like it's just all weird Looney Tunes nonsense, and I'm okay with that because it's Kelley Jones.
Yeah. Man, could you imagine Batman 89 comics drawn by Kelley Jones?
Oh, who we get to color him?
Mm, that's a good point.
Because I think if Jones does it, it's so dark we just can't see anything.
But I just think Jones has that weird aesthetic that would work with a Burton, as you said, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. That sort of weird mindset would work with Jones.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Don't think we're gonna get good facial likenesses though.
No, no.
Jerry Ordway looks at this and says, "This is not what I wanted."
And one particular thing that really threw me here for a moment, because I didn't remember how it tied in, and it winds up not tying in. The first time Batman comes face to face with Midnight, the last thing Midnight says to Batman is, "From this moment on, none of you are safe," which is the line from the iconic moment in Year One.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with anything. You would have expected that to have some nod to someone being at the Romans party, being involved, or something. It's like someone else in Star Wars going up to a character going, "I am your father," and it having nothing to do with anything. It's like, hey, oh wait, I am your father. I know, we were at breakfast together this morning, kind of thing. You don't have someone else in a Batman comic go, "Why so serious?"
Well, so I think the text, right? The text wants you to see Midnight as being an inverse of Batman, a dark reflection of Batman, but we don't see enough of that in April. We don't see April being beaten down by the system. We don't see April being angry at Gotham corruption. We just have that all explained away later. I think if Midnight had been more of an actual character, if Midnight had had, April's humanity and her struggles and her frustrations, it would have been more natural. It would have made more sense. But instead, we just get these, catchphrases that don't sync up with anything that we've given on the page.
Listen, we've read way worse.
Oh my God, have we ever?
But I mean, I think that's partially because was it bad writers borrow, good writers steal, or something? Is that what's the line about? He's stealing from the best here.
He is. And
Good writers borrow, great writers steal. That's the line.
yeah, a lot of borrowing. And look, it never gets to be drudgery. You can spot all of the developments in the story. Like you're never surprised at any point, but it's never boring. And having Jones in your corner certainly helps with that.
I think we might have to, and this is not as readily available. I don't think it's on Infinite. We should try to find Steve Niles' Gotham County line.
Oh,
Scott Hampton paints 3-issue prestige format. I believe that is more supernatural, much less supervillainy, much more supernaturally. Because Niles has written not a ton of Batman, but there have been a few stories over the years. And he did write the not bad, but very strange series Simon Dark about a golem-like vigilante existing in Gotham that ran for 14 issues and Batman never showed up, which struck me as really odd. It's like, wait, you're doing a comic set in Gotham, but you're not bringing in Batman at all. I mean, yet Garth Ennis
strange.
didn't use Batman much in Hitman, but he brought him in for the first arc right away to just get it out of the way. But yes, we should track down Gotham County line. And he did one of the digital first Legends of the Dark Knight arcs too, I believe. Are we good on this one?
I believe we are. That means it's time for Gotham After Midnight on the big board. I mean, I think by default, Sanctum's gonna have to be story of the night. I don't.
Yeah.
This cannot be up past 170.
No.
As much as the art here is good.
The just sheer banality of the story
Yeah,
makes me think we're looking like, okay, for instance, just as one of our sort of standard, like right now, pretty much dead middle, the perfect dividing line. This is not as innovative or fun as monkey rankings at 320.
no, absolutely not.
No, no,
But the art can do a lot for you.
it can.
I would not put this below Mr. Freeze One Bad Day at 373.
Okay, I was gonna say I was scrolling at like 400. And I was like, it's definitely above 400. So yeah, I can say, all right. So between 320 and 373. All right. So right now, dead middle of the list. Once this is on here, depending on where it falls, granted. But right now, 333 is Swamp Things. Doug Mensch and Kelley Jones. The Killer Croc goes down to the bayou and meets the Swamp Thing story. Good Kelley Jones art. And granted, it's only 2 issues, but a better, more character focused story.
And a more interesting story too, right? Killer Croc meeting Swamp Thing and Swamp Thing basically telling Batman to fuck off.
And it has that fun scene where Alfred returns to Wayne Manor after quitting during Night Quest because he put the ad in the classifieds himself because he knew that neither he nor Bruce could necessarily bridge the gap, but by doing that, technically they both got to save face.
I don't have any real justification for this. Just a random number that feels right. 350.
All right, so 350 right now. Losing Face. First appearance of Black Mask. And above that is Opening Night, which is the origin of the second ventriloquist. Yeah, I could go for that spot.
All right.
And that does it for tonight. Next week, Matt McThorne's back to read 3 DC Dark Horse crossovers with us. Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shoutouts, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel, Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum, Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper.
Sam, look, Matt told me that not only did you not go to bed, you stayed up late, but then you also watched those fly deleted scenes. Buddy, what did I tell you? Don't do it. Another thing to not watch on YouTube, especially not watch on British YouTube, videos of people dying with rabies. It's not good to watch. Very unsettling. Don't do it, Sam. Go to bed.
Sorry, the people dying of rabies. I froze up for a second there.
They're bad. They're real bad.
Well, yeah. John Wickham.
Hey, John. Love you, John. You beautiful boy. Love you.
Robert Secundus.
Bobby, you've been doing better. I think you really have been doing better. Love you too, buddy.
Tim Rooney. Giorgio Sergioli. David Wheel.
World's greatest gray belt.
Alexander Wheel. Matt McThorne.
McThorny. Be good to have you again next week.
Dan Offer.
Barely newer.
Nate Randell. Daniel Mosley. Ross Holmes.
Mr. Random Ace.
Will Crisp.
Me compadre.
Carlos Cordova. Jordan Jennings. Charlie Etheridge Nunn. Sean Shambly. And The Final Wraith for their support.
So spooky.
This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com. New episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and other random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
Against my better judgment, I continue to be on Twitter at Will Nevin, where I'm not really doing anything useful. Like it's not, I'm not even making good tweets. I'm just there. I'm just hanging out. I am gonna get something to drink, and then I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday Bat Chat roundup of new Bat books, for my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.